So there's a lot going on here at the wedding in Cana. All kinds of rich symbols happening with this water used for purification being miraculously turned into wine, and not just any wine, but the good stuff. Then there is the fact that this is the first miracle Jesus publicly performs. And as our wedding liturgy likes to point out, it's significant that this first miracle happens at a wedding. But this morning, I want to focus in on just a couple of aspects in this story. I want us first to consider this exchange at the beginning between Jesus and his mother. So to set the scene, they've run out of wine at a wedding feast, and Mary seems to immediately turn to her son and say very suggestively, "Hey, did you notice they have no wine?" And Jesus replies, "What does that have to do with us?" It seems like a rather curt response, doesn't it? As if he is saying, how is that our problem? But notice how the second part of this interaction goes. Jesus continues by explaining, "My hour has not yet come." And then in response to that, Mary simply instructs the servants to do whatever Jesus says, as if she knows that despite his protest, he will still fulfill what she has asked of him. And it's the second part of the interaction that reveals that there is more going on here than just a mother expecting her talented son to keep the party going. Because up to this point in John's gospel, Jesus has not performed any public signs. He hasn't, as verse 11 puts it, revealed his glory yet. Think about what that means. At this point in the story, he's still relatively unknown. He's been baptized by the much more infamous John the Baptist, and he's collected some disciples of his own. But so far, he appears to be simply another rabbi, just one of many wandering teachers of the time. But once he reveals his glory through this miraculous action, once everyone has seen the power he has to transform this water into wine, the power he has to heal the sick, and the power he has to command spirits, well, then there is no going back. What Jesus is saying to his mother here is, are you ready for what is to come? Are you ready to walk down this path? Because we all know where it's heading. A tragic and painful death on the cross. And so Mary, who already had to say yes to God once before at the Annunciation, is called on to again say yes for a second time, to take that first step down this path. Ultimately, to accept her place at the foot of the cross. That is what is at stake here at this wedding. Not just an opportunity to refill jars of wine, but to come to serve the very cup of salvation. And when this abundance of wine shows up at the party, what does the head steward say? He points out the timing of this miracle, remarking, "You have kept the good wine until now." And this is the second aspect of this story I want to consider today. It wasn't until the guests were getting parched and the host growing nervous. It wasn't until the talk of needing to shut the party down that the miracle finally comes. And even then, there is no big show. Jesus doesn't raise his hands over the jars and make a pronouncement. There are no lightning bolts in the sky. No one even knows, except for the disciples and the servers who fill the jars. And this is what sets everything into motion. This quiet miracle done at a time rather inconvenient for Jesus. But when Mary asks, and the need is there, he will take that fateful step. A step towards death, and a step towards resurrection and ascension. A quiet, an unnoticed step towards the redemption of all things. Oh, how often it can feel like God has forgotten to respond to our petitions. How often it can feel like God is too late. The wine has run out. How could we possibly hope to go on? This, St. John tells us, this is the very manifestation of Christ's glory. It may not be what humans expect glory to look like, for it is often at work in the silence, in the hidden, and the mysterious. Quietly in the wine cellar, or in the solitude of the grave. These are the signs that reveal God's glory. Amen.